So I added the label design which I made for this label, and I will blend this or change it with the placeholder which I made before. And now I will add a transformation 2D node to place the label to its location. Right. Now we have the label placed there. We will add further the details to that label, of course. For example, we can use some fur to create. Actually, we need to make it tileable. This is not the right fur. This is better. We can use this to create a paper effect on the label. So after increasing the both wave amount and this order, we end up with a color effect, a paper effect at the end. Let's increase it a little bit more. So let's use a blur. Actually creating this ends up with a vertical result. So let's try this instead of that. All right, this looks better than this. So for this bitmap, I will add a blend node, connect this to opacity, and use a uniform color of white to blend this with that. Still, this is not what we are looking for. Let's see. That we need to increase the scale, decrease the wave scale, right? Blend it with a Perlin noise to get rid of the repeating effect by multiplying it. This. I will decrease the scale, right? And at the final stage, we can use a blur. Right. Let's see how it looks. The fur has more scale. Because I scaled up the tile, it was just like this, but I converted it to a larger scale. Let's change the tiling mode this one as well. You see that we have more recognizable furs on this shape. So I will use transformation 2D node to tile it back. Right. Now it's looking more like a paper result, like this. I will decrease the opacity of it a little bit more. Maybe we can use an histogram or maybe a levels node actually to make it more recognizable. This. And now it looks better as a paper, I suppose. Right. And we can go on with the next details. Let's make this area. It's still, there's a yellow color will be used for there, but it will not be used on the brass color. So I copied the same color, but I will use it on a different blend node. So now I will add another text to create these details on the front part of here. So making this, I will use the same text which I used before, and I will enter the texts one by one. We have power, and I will copy and paste it. Reset and zoom in. I need to set the alignment to center, but it's already there. So I copy and paste. And finally, the time button for 30 minutes. I'm not very familiar with the 70s consoles, but possibly these are the gameplay times you set before starting the game, I suppose. Very strange considering today's gaming industry. So now we can blend these together with max lighten by using and moving these texts. So let's connect this to the final color blending opacity channel. So let's move it to an area to see how it works. Right now we can scale and place these texts to the desired area. So let's add a blend node for the color channel by blending it with the ambient occlusion, because it makes it easier to recognize the curvature around your height map geometry. So I will add a white color and invert the ambient occlusion color. Let's see, actually we need to use the black color for that. So you see that I have the base color channel affected by the ambient occlusion channel to see the height map details on this node. The base color output is here, but it's easier for me to adjust the text by double clicking to this node to see it on the 2D view. So now I can adjust the text for the power text to place it over the object by seeing the shape in a better way. First, I want to change the aspect ratio of the text, but since the text projected from top, but the projected plane is angular, to keep the correct aspect ratio, we just need to make it a little bit stretch to the vertical way. Right. And this is the placement. So let's move on with the reset button. Actually, we should create the next button's text after we created the first one, because this transformation cannot be copied between the other nodes. So let's put this here first with a little bit of stretching there, right? My next step will be copying this node once more for the other texts by actually doing this same scale for each one of them. So let's copy and paste this 4 times more. Actually 5 times is needed. So I also copied this blend node to make the all blending together. I will connect all max blending nodes to each other. And I will connect each text to other one. Let's double click to this one. select the new one and I will just slide it in horizontal way. So we are having two big texts, by the way. Let's scale it a little bit more. Right? And also we need to adjust this area because we made it too large on the 3D view. Luckily we are having a non-destructive workflow, so actually it will destruct at the wood part, but let's try it to make the catch the resemblance first. I will just go to the case part and check this curve node to adjust the area there. So I'm selecting this too, moving this part to here. Right. Now it looks similar to our reference. Let's correct the wooden blending for that part. So that should be this transformation 2D node, I suppose. Right. Let's check it from the temporary node which I made. You can see the exact area where the wooden part is started. So now we can go back to the text details of this area. Now it fits better like this. Now we can copy and paste this same text node for every number. I hope we won't be changing anything more on these texts because we have already made too much revisions, unnecessary revisions actually, like this. So I'm changing the text. So connecting the next one, moving it over the button, renaming it once again. And one final button text. This one is unnecessary, but let's keep it there. For that, we will be using time and 30 minutes. Which should be positioned here. Alright. I will be adding the horizontal line to this blend, but actually its color is a bit of different than the rest. You see that? It's the same color with the eject button text actually. So let's move this to here and add a frame for button texts. And for this eject button, let's add a blend node with max lightness selected. And there I will just add a uniform color which is grayscale and white to transform it to place between the texts for the buttons. We are not seeing it because we are at the wrong part. Alright, let's make it by manually. Adding a different color which is more saturated. There, and put it here. Now I will adjust the scale, and also we are working on the 4K. Let's switch back to the 2K resolution. All right. Now we can adjust the width by here. But since you see that once we transformed this line, we have some transition at the out of the border. To correct it, we need to change the filtering to nearest to get the sharp result on this transformation. So this makes the line between the text, which is here, right? Let's see what we can create. There is a text on the wooden part, which is the same color that we've used here. Let's try to create it by a text node. I don't know if I have a digital text. I remember that I had it, but let's check it. I don't remember the name actually. So let's check the fonts for that. Searching digital, no match. Alright, we don't have this, but let's extract it from the Substance Painter there. To use here. Also, we can use the same text for same mask for the label part as well. But as you see, we have a frame on this label part. So let's create it first. Let me check. We can add it as a normal detail and also as a color detail. Let's move this outputs here. I will add a blend node for the black color. And now from the label part, we need an inner frame for that area. To do that, let's use this once more. So I will use a bevel first. Connect this here. I will add a negative value. My next step will be adding an histogram select to isolate the top part. But also we can change the range to get the frame from the histogram select node. Next, we can connect this to the color mask. Now we can adjust both bevel and histogram select together. All right. Which looks better. Now we can use this as a subtraction from the normal map to create a normal map detail there. So this is the normal map and ambient occlusion detail we are having. So you see that. This subtraction right here. Right. Let's pass the updating and see the console to export our maps there. All right. Let's see the isolated areas. Okay. We are having the label at this part. This is the logo. We can do that in Substance Designer. So this is the cartridge part. Right. Let's export this here. Actually, I exported in a different format, I suppose. Let me check the exported file. Right. I was sure that I wrongly write the extension, so I will export in PNG. Right. Now let's see the other details. Actually, since those are all black, we can add anchor points there, and we don't need this. We have this one, and this one. Right. What is this? This is the logo. Let's merge it as well. I'm adding a temporary material and add a black mask, and I will add multiple fill layers under this mask to combine the texture which I anchored from Substance Painter. So I will add another fill. We have 4 anchor points. So I will just select this as by adding them together. So let's see the result first. All right. One final. So we have this area like this. So I will export this mask to a file. So I will overwrite this console part as console label mask.png, and I will override it. So let's remove this back and see if we can export any more textures which we need. So we have another one on the wooden part. So let's check. All right, this is the part that I use the font segment 14, which is included in the Substance Painter. So let's export this mask to a file. So console brand.png. So I have these two, and let's import these to Designer by linking the sources. When we are having this, since the UVs are rotated, these are rotated as well. I will change it to relative to parent on the resolution. So let's use a transformation 2D node to rotate them. All right. And now we can use this here by blending it with the rest of the yellow part. We are connecting the wrong mask, right? And we just move the text to the desired area. And also I will add another transformation 2D node actually to scale it, but since the actual texture is in a strange place, I will add the scale link transformation to the afterwards. Let me check the scale of this text. All right. That looks okay. We have some normal details here. Let's add it to the normal detail as well. So these are the normal map and ambient occlusion map details we are having. So I will just connect this text to here by adding it to the normal map with a low opacity, of course, like this. Now let's add the other color details to the brass label part. Actually, we can do that on the blending of the label, which should be the area where we added the black text over. Let me see the part. Right, it's that part. So for this color, I will add different color details because the result here will be masked around the label. So we can change the colors of this yellow part as we want it. So I'm adding a uniform color with black. Let's switch to this one. And now I will adjust the positioning for this label. The only thing we need to do is scale the shape once again. see on the reference. Right. Let's switch to the temporary ambient occlusion blended base color here. We do the scaling once more, about 90% will be enough, I suppose. Now we do the positioning once again. Right. We need to position the cartridge area by moving the text a little bit to the left. To do that, I can manipulate the texture here or here by moving it to the left actually. To do that, I will use a blend here. With a uniform color of grayscale with white, by transforming it to control the text. Let's multiply it. So on this transformation, I move this here to isolate this part like this. So I'm actually copying this blend, but this time I will change it to subtract to get the rest of the text. Now I will blend this too with max lighten option by adding a third transformation 2D node, a second transformation 2D node here, and connect this to the art text. Now I can move this to the cartridge area, as you can see by here, which looks better in its place right now. Let's check it from the temporary node we have. So it looks centered as it looks. Now we add the colors to this area. For that, we are having the color blending of the label just right here. So you see that we are having this mask blended here. I'm adding another blend by using the same mask, but this time I will use 3 uniform colors, with each corresponds to a main colors like red, green, and blue. All right. And I will use transformation 2D node for each of them and blend these together. By copy. Let's add another transformation 2D node for this one as well. So for the red, this is the result. For the red, I will move this to here. For the blue, I will move this to here. Let's change the order of this too. You can see that we have the colors. I'm applying a quick way to do that. Actually, it's not the right and perfect way to do this, but it will be easier for us. So let's blend this one like this, but you see that this is not the result we want. For that, I will use a transformation 2D node by moving this to this area, and I will rotate it to match the colors there. You see, now we are having colors applied as they are. So this text detail needs to be applied to the normal as well. So I'm adding a blend node again. And move this to the normal detailing area that we want by making this added to the normal map. Still we have too much of ambient occlusion. We will be able to drop it at the end, but for seeing the details for a while, I will keep it that way. So these label details are also done, and we need to put the numbers through these buttons. Actually, we can do this on this level, but let's keep it here by adding a blend node to this black color. So I will put it back to its position, and I will use a max lighten. So my approach will be adding another text for this part. Let's make it that way for a starter. Now we can make the positioning according to the buttons there. So first I will scale down. The boundary of the text. I'm not sure if it will work with one single text node, but I will try. Alright. Now I will change the font scale. It also scales the boundary as well. So let's keep it that way first. Alright, we can change the font size and the boundary together. Oh yes, we can doing it. So let's start with 1 by making spaces between the numbers. Alright, we need to have some space between 4 and 5, but actually we need to be having the same space between all the numbers. So I will copy the space text, the text I added as spaces, and copy and paste it between numbers to make them even on the spacing. So my next step will be scaling the whole set by here and here. It ended up with wrong placement actually. Let me see if we can work this out. And yes, they look like more aligned in this way, but we can add one more space between 1 and 2 because 1 is a narrow number and makes the alignment worse on many cases. Alright, let's move them a little bit to the left. And they look fine for now. Actually looking better than the reference, because I put tiny numbers for the buttons there, but this one looks better at the end. So this looks like we have completed the coloring the height map model that we are working on. Now we can add the metallic and roughness values, and also we need to add grain and brush details to the normal map to get more similar look for the console we are having. Let's define the metallic parts first, because it will be easier to define it by the simple masks that we have already created. So this is the metallic channel, and there is a black color assigned to it. So I will add a blend and consider this black color is the default metallic value of the set. So I will add another uniform color with grayscale with an increased metallic level over this one with a mask controlled way. So we will be having this label as metallic, and also this text will be metallic as well. And finally we will be having these button labels in a metallic way. So let's just add a blend node with max lighten defined, and I will select the related masks and merge them on the set. For example, let's check this home arcade system text. I will move it and connect to this blend node. So for the label, we will be having these set together, should be connected here. So you see that we have a white mask of metallic parts. So I will connect this to opacity. So you will see that we will be having the general result on the metallic part. So if I increase this value, the masked areas will be look like more metallic at the end. Also, it should be controlled in a way on the roughness. So we have already had the mask of the metallic parts, so we can use this on the roughness area as well. So let's consider this as the base roughness value of our set. So for the metallic parts, I will just copy and paste and drop the roughness value for the metallic parts to be blended. And my next step will be connecting the same set to the roughness channel as well. And as you see, our set with the metallic parts will be having less roughness than the rest of the object. And also we can increase the roughness of the rest of the items at the end. So we are having the metallic parts defined. For the rest of the parts, we can decrease the roughness a little bit because we had too much roughness on the end. And let's create the tiny details in the normal map, like the grain plastic look, and also we need to have the wood detail on the normal map. So let's get on with this parts. Since we have completed the many details of the metallic parts, we can continue to create the normal map as well. So for the starter, this is the normal details which we had, and this is the height map. So this 4 blending plus this one, this 5 set, is the normal map details we have made so far. Actually, this is the leveling, of course. So for the plastic part, first I will add a blend node for the grainy parts. For that, white noise is a great result for adding grain to the set. So we can blend this with add linear dodge, or let's subtract it actually to be safer, and I will lower the opacity. But we need to define this part we need to mask this part just for the plastic parts. And to create that effect, we just need to have the mask for the plastic part of the set. So we can use masks to subtract from each other, since we have used many of them on this color blending area, to get the black part, which is the plastic part as well. For example, we have the wooden part on this mask. So let's start by making a combination between these masks. So I'm switching the blending mode as max lighten and put the first mask here. The second mask generates this wooden area, so I will add this to that one as well. So I'm adding another blend with max lighten selected and checking to see what this mask is for. So this is the labels that we have used. So I can add this to this mask as well. And checking the following masks. These are the buttons which shouldn't be grainy at the end. So let's add them as well. Actually, we can add grainy look to these ones. Let me check. The buttons are not having any grain, but the eject button has grain on it, so we will mask it customly. So you see that we are having this mask and that one. We need to remove this area, but before that I will check if I can add any more masks. Cartridge part needs masking, but the label part doesn't need mask. So let's add a blend node here and put this cartridge part to our collection here. So the label of the cartridge shouldn't be having any grain. Let's see what we have. What do we have here? We have the text at here, which should be added to the collection as well. Let me add a blend here and connect these together. So what we are having here is the next set of text, but this area is already blocked by the wooden mask, but it doesn't matter. We can add this to that one. Right. And this is the black area, but it's already masked with the label, but we have the numbers of the over the button, but also these buttons are masked and added to our collection here. So I'm adding another blend. Let's move this here, move this here, this one here, change it to max lighten as well. And this collection is the mask of the plastic part. So let's use a blend by Subtraction, and I will just connect the eject button here, but we did that eject mask to somewhere. Here, right? So let's select this and follow the route. Right? This is the eject button, and this is the buttons around the power buttons and the other buttons. So I take this and connect here. This way I got the buttons, and this doesn't include the eject button this time. So at the final stage I'm having this mask. So let's invert it. Actually, we selected the wrong. So I inverted it. This is the grainy part, which is supposed to have grains as the black plastic. But actually we need to limit this by adding one less blend for the outer boundary of our case. So I will use a max lighten, or just use multiply. And I will go back to the base case shape. Possibly our case is outer boundary is this one. So once I multiply it like this, we can connect this to the white noise that we have created. So we have the wrong mask for the multiplication. Let's check. Possibly we used bevel to the extended area outer than this, right? So let's use this one. But I will use a levels node to make the all white values compressed in a flat way. All right. Now we had the grainy part, which looks awkward right now, but it will look better once we adjust the fine tuning with adding a levels to this white noise and lower the value, and you can see that we have the grainy plastic at the end. Since our ambient occlusion is too detailed at the end, once we remove the extra occluded result from our mesh, it will look better. So let's keep it that way for a while, and I'm checking if we have any unnecessary place that we used grainy noise over, but it doesn't look that way. Actually, we need to remove the noise from this eject text. For that, we have this final mask for white noise. I'm adding one final blend to just connect the eject text by setting it to subtraction. So it will remove the grain from here. For this area, I will add a frame and rename this as grainy plastic mask actually, yes. And let's see what we are having here. We need to add some frames for the rest of the graph to make it more understandable. So this frame is, this node set consists of the label text, right? This part is eject button. All right. So these are button texts. This is the normal detailing area. So these are metallic and roughness blends. So this area is totally the base color blending. So let's set this area here. This is the plastic color. This is the wood parts. And these are the colors. Let me check what it is. So this isolates the wooden part. So let's move this to the area of the wooden parts. All right. After we added the details of the color and normal details, the graph got complicated a little bit. So let's make and group this area as base color blendings. All right. Now we can move this output a little bit. So let me check what this part. This is the mask that we have created for the cartridge for the height blend. So let's add a particular frame for this cartridge. Mask creation. So these are the height map blendings, of course. Let's enlarge it a little bit to make it more recognizable. Right? So let's see the result. Cool enough. And the only detail we need to add is the normal map details of the wood and the brushed metal. After that, we are good to go on exporting the textures on a simple mesh to create the same result of the similar result, actually not the same, similar result of the 3D reference which I modeled in CAD modeling software Solidworks. So let's start by adding the brush details. Brush details should exclude the numbers and texts over the plates. So first, let's go to the ambient occlusion and normal map details. Here, I will add a blend node and use an anisotropic noise which we can use multiply, of course, right? So we need a mask for this part. You see that we have already a metallic channel, but the texts should be subtracted for this metallic masks that we have. So let's see the metallic parts. You don't need this area to be brushed. So let me check this area, right? So let's connect this part first to see the result. All right, we are having too much detail there, too much intensity there actually. Next, I will use a transformation 2D node, which is faster than increasing the stripe counts on the node and on the anisotropic noise node. So I scale it down and switch the tiling mode to HMB tiling. We can adjust the anisotropic noise more, but first we need to subtract the texts from this mask. For that, I will use a blend node and use subtraction, and I will remove this text there. Actually, we have used this text as a normal map detail before. Let me check, where do we use? Here it is. So let's subtract it first. And also we may use the button numbers. If we didn't, we can take them from here, this text. So let's add a blend which I subtract these buttons. So button numbers are removed from the brass part. So one final thing about this metallic part is to remove the home arcade system text from it. I'm not sure if I remove it, it will be totally removed, but let's see. Great, it worked, and we have just this area as brushed result. Now we can adjust the details. But I didn't understand that our anisotrophic noise is not tileable, since we may need to change this to HMV tiling. So alright, let's solve this. And also I will use a levels node to fine-tune the intensity of this subtraction on the normal map for creation of the brushed metal fill, which looks better right now. So let's increase the X amount a little bit from here. Right. So this looks better right now. The thing I will do is use the same mask and blending on the roughness channel as well to create a variation for this brushed metal. So I will blend this noise and this mask by multiplying it, right? And I will use this mask as a secondary roughness level, which I define by a uniform color. So when I connect it to here, you see that our previous roughness value was this gray level, and the new one is this one, and I can change it like this. This looks better at the end. Let me see how our reference looks. Alright, we need to change the color a little bit. And also we may adjust these levels a little bit more. Alright, tiny detail of normal is good. And also, let's change the color of this yellow part. So possibly the metallic part is somewhere right here. Actually, this is the color. Let's change it in a more saturated and red way. Perfect. So I wonder if the same color is applied to the buttons. Yes. And great. We have the brushed metal fill. We can change the roughness of these buttons as well. Let's check it to see if we have a mask for this part. Actually we have, which is the orange color there, which we added that detail right here. So this mask can be used on lowering the roughness value for the buttons. So I will connect this to the mask, opacity mask. I will remove the previous connection. I will add a uniform color to control the roughness of these buttons. individually actually, because the mask we are having just uses this blend node to copy this color over the roughness channel. So we can adjust it like we want. This way it looks better with the low roughness value. So we can move on to create the details of the wood. Actually, we just use a normal map blending at the final stage, because we have this mask, this transformation, that kind of blending, and also we use the same blend just like here. So we copy the process with the same nodes to create the normal map as well, to get the normal map as well. So let me check the normal of this wood, which looks good. I will change the normal format to OpenGL because my render engines are accepting these normal maps as OpenGL normal maps. So what I will do is just copy every node after the base color. So I will move this here, but this time I will connect the normal map here. So I may just wrongly got some of the nodes. Let's select them once from the start. Right, we can move to this blending, of course. This makes the rectangular conversion. We will just change this input to normal map, and at the end we will be having this over this color, but this time we will use a normal blend node with this mask for this part. Let's try it first. I will move this here. We have this normal detailing there, and we will use a normal blend node at here. So this means our new details about the wood will not be projected to ambient occlusion, which is not necessary as well. So I connected wrongly to the standard blend. All right, let's remove this. So this is the normal details we are having so far. So we can adjust the intensity of the normals from the material parameters. So you see that we have a normal intensity. Once I increase it to a larger levels, you can see that the intensity is too much. So we will have a tiny detail on normals like this. Even we can remove the intensity a little bit lesser value. All right. So we will be having another normal map detailing like this on this map, on this mask actually. So let's add another normal blend. I will use the base color for a starter, But my next step will be connecting the normal channel output of the material to this normal blend node I have. So moving here, I will connect the output to here, this one to here, and we will be having the normal details on this part as well. But we need to remove the text from this mask. So let's add a blend. So we have subtracted this text previously, so I will use a subtract there. You can see that we have the proper mask. Now I will connect this to normal blend, and we will be having this normal details of the wood as well. The one last thing is to control the roughness of the wooden part, because we leave the roughness values of these parts as the rest of the plastic part. Since we have used these wooden normal maps in two masks, we can blend these together to use this on the roughness channel. So I will use it as max lighten option. This mask defines the roughness value of the wooden part. Let's one last adding a blend to the roughness channel blendings, and I will add a uniform color, which should be a grayscale value, and you can see that we have the low roughness value, but we can adjust it as we want. Also, we can blend the normal maps of this wood together, and then we can adjust the wood intensity combined in a way. Let me show you what I mean. We just have this normal map at the end, but we have added two normal map blendings by several masks. So for that we can use, let's see, for this normal map, let's delete this part and this part and connect this to here and connect this one to here, and I will change the order of the wooden parts, so this way we have the blending of the two parts in a way. But actually let's remove it because I didn't do it in a proper way. So the thing I want to do is just blend the normal maps according to this and this, right? So we are having this. All right. We need to blend this wooden part as well, like we did in this area. So I will put this here. So my first step will be blending a standard normal map first. With each other, of course, like this. So we have combined this together, and I will combine this with the combined mask and then I will just connect this to the normal map. So let me check if I did it right. Revising something is more complicated than making it from a scratch, So this explains the complication which I did right now. So what I did is just I combined two wood normals which are comes through this node, this one and this one that comes to here are blended together with the first mask. And then I combined the first and two wood masks, this one to this one, and I blended the combined wood normal to the existing final normal which I have. But why I did this, now I have the wood normal detail in together. So I can add a normal intensity node to this one, and I can adjust the intensity of the wood in together, because these woods are not real woods and they don't mean to have, they are not meant to have exact wooden details, but having them a little bit of normal map details makes me happy to see that way. So this way I will be able to lower the general normal map details of this wood. So I can also adjust this as well, but also adding some roughness details from the material would be great. You see these details right here. So to do that, boring but the same thing, that I will copy these nodes and then paste them here, and I will connect the roughness value here. Now I have nothing actually. Let me see. We need to convert this to mirror grayscale on y-axis, because we were using this mirror grayscale color for normal map and base color channels. And let's remove this temporary node and reconnect this one, right? So after the blending, we need to have a mask. Let me see why we don't have this. All right, let's check that. I will change this to max lighten, and we will have the roughness for the outer circle. Now I will add a blend node, and I will use the standard material roughness output, but this time again I will use this mask for the wooden part. All right, now we have the roughness details for this wood material. Let's leave them here, and I will add this result to this placeholder which we did before. So you see that now we are having a better roughness detail on this wooden part, which is controlled by this mask. And we also have fine details here. So I will add a levels node to control these roughness values as well, because we can adjust the general intensity like this, and also we can increase the black level. which looks better right now. Maybe we can just lower it a little bit. This one as well. And now we have the details we want. As you see, since this is not a physical geometry here, because it's extruded by the tessellated displacement, the reflections are not calculated through the direction of the phases that we have extruded on the surfaces. So you see that the reflections are still flat. Once we apply this tessellated displacement on a render engine, it will calculate the reflections according to the displacement. But the viewport of the Substance Designer doesn't show this. So it will look better than this. Now I will adjust a little bit of ambient occlusion node. I will create a copy in case I can switch back to the previous one, and I will decrease the depth to make a more understandable occlusion on the 3D model. So for the one final application, we can try to make this conical extrusions in a vertical way to see if they are good enough to show the details of the wood. First, let me extend this area like here. We can just put these here. All right. And we have this area, wood roughness blend. All right. Saving your file, and let's see where it all started on this beveling. So maybe we can adjust the beveling distance a little bit to make it more vertical, but I think I'm looking to the wrong place. Let me see. It acts weird once I do this. All right, now I found the part that we made this area. So let me make it vertically. So you see that our texture is skewed at the end, but still has the wooden details. So we can actually use it. But the thing that gone wrong about this verticalization process, our wood mask got weird. Let me check to see the frame around the wooden part, which is this. So we need to adjust the histogram select node, actually, yes. We may increase the ambient occlusion once again to see the details, because as I said it earlier, the reflections are calculated in a flat way, so adding an occlusion makes it more understandable. So this is the histogram select node. We need to adjust the wooden part. So range is good enough. Maybe we can lower it, move the position like this. looking great. Actually, we have still the wooden details. Also, we can just squeeze the texture of the wood that we have used here. Let me show you. So we have this part that connects to this area, and we have this transformation for the making it on the four sides of this part. So we can just squeeze this to get more detail at the end. So let me make it by a value. For example, 2 times transformation of 50% on height, of course. Let's do the same on the normal map as well. Somehow it looks worse than the previous one, but we have more lines at the end. I will switch back and live with the result actually. Let me roll back. The microfibers work better on this area actually, so I won't touch it since the similarity began more intense between these two geometries. So let's switch back to the ambient occlusion that we need. So it looks perfect. Let me show you on bigger viewport. Right. And we have so much of detail on this height map driven 3D model. You can see the change by editing the scale of this texture. So what we have done is just this, but it can be formed like this, which is a nice touch on this kind of geometries. I'm still not sure about this ambient occlusion actually. Greater is better, I suppose, but we can just increase the intensity of this normal details that affects the ambient occlusion channel. So let me find the text. Yes, it is, and I will add a levels node to fine-tune this text addition as a bump map, as a normal map at the end. Still not getting, actually strange. If I remove it, the ambient occlusion still stays as it is. We need to drop the intensity of this effect, but it seems like we applied this texture twice for this normal map. Let me find the reason. Let's save it first and try something. So this is the blending that done. But once I remove it, it still stays at this area. Alright, the reason is the normal map mask that we are using, like this. So this mask is applied over this one. For the brushed texture. So the level of the brush texture also determines the ambient occlusion along the text. So maybe we can just change the text subtraction from the label. Let me check this part. We have this, right? We have subtracted this from the general shape. Once I remove the subtraction opacity a little bit, I can decrease the ambient occlusion around the text. So it worked like a charm. So we have more intense ambient occlusion with less intense occlusion over the text, which is good. And also we can just change the roughness value of the plastic part, which is our base roughness value. We can increase it a little bit. All right. So this concludes the height map modeling of this arcade console. So on the next video, I will show you how to apply this texture on a simple geometry and get a nice details with the height map.